We can start moving along as soon as you're stable here, gentlemen.
Looks like another skate there hiding on the bottom. This one's more camouflage.
Okay. Roger that. We may be shooting you in the next 20 to 30 minutes some modifications of position and waypoints, and as we do, we'll give them to you.
We just passed a couple of, they look like mounds with depressions in the middle. Almost look like little expulsion features. Do you think that's biologic, or do you think those are expulsion?
I think those small ones are biological. They look like burrows.
But these were the two that I saw were fairly large relative to the screen. I don't know how big they are. We don't have any, we don't have the lasers on. But
Yeah, I think I know the ones you're talking about, and crabs can make pretty large burrows. So like the depression that we just saw on the right there, is that the kind of thing you were talking about?
yeah. Yes.
Right, so yeah, you're right. Maybe that could be more, so the last one I had seen, I thought clearly looked like a burrow because it was oblong and looked like something that had been dug out. But that one was more kind of regular and round, so I would believe that it could be gas expulsion.
Okay. Yeah, these natural expulsion sites come and go. They're not.
Right.
Some of them are episodic. If you remember, in Green Canyon, there's a number of these natural sites that are very constant. Every time the satellite goes over, they see the slick. Every time you go down on the bottom, you typically find that the expulsion sites very easily.
Having said that, that was a crab burrow in the left foreground
yeah.
there.
Yes, I saw that.
Another burrow, which I'm pretty sure, based on having seen them before, that that's a crab burrow. We have seen crabs in those burrows, but none.
Ooh. Oh, we have to get that. It's pretty cool. I don't know what this is. Any fish biologists out there, tell us what this one is. I'm going to say this is some kind of eel, but I don't know anything more specific than that. Other than that, it's beautiful and has teeth. Think it'll still be there? Could be. Right underneath us. Yep, there he is. Still there. Yep. Oh. It kind of reminds me of, did you ever see Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets? It reminds me of that thing.
Jamie, this is Dave.
Yep.
The the oil that we saw this morning, those are from natural seeps, aren't they?
Oh.
And if so, how does that work?
Yeah, we've got a query about the oil we saw coming up to the seafloor or to the sea surface this morning. We actually had droplets of oil, it looked like, coming out and hitting the surface and then expanding into an oil sheen. These are very, very small, microns thick, but they can actually be quite visible on the sea surface. These naturally occurring seeps, and they are naturally occurring in this area, it's as we've seen over the last week, we can be leaking bubbles of methane, and we think they're methane, but they're probably also coated with oil, and we can have liquids coming out of these seeps in very much the same way as disseminated droplets. We could tell that the oil was coming up to the surface as small droplets because it was coming to the surface and then spreading out as discrete little ponds of oil. Anyone who has seen any kind of an oil sheen on a puddle, for example, a rain puddle on a roadway, has seen similar kinds of phenomenon. These are rainbow-colored little droplets, and our automobiles unfortunately disperse a lot of hydrocarbons as they move along paved roads, and then when it rains, you're seeing these are not naturally occurring hydrocarbons, of course. These are auto-produced hydrocarbons, but the way they spread out in puddles of water is very much what we were seeing on either side of Explorer this morning. These are droplets that are coming up from, in this case, 1,000 feet of water. And we hope to see some examples of this later in this dive. And I think during Lake 2, there was some evidence. I think you ran across at least one seep where there were brownish-looking liquid droplets of hydrocarbon in addition to bubbles. For those of you out there generally listening in on us, we've got colleagues this morning from the Bureau of Ocean Energy Management, that's part of the Department of the Interior, They are part of the successor organization of the Minerals Management Service, and their goal is to monitor, to understand the natural versus the anthropogenic or the man-made produced sources of hydrocarbons in the Gulf of Mexico. And we know that there are many, many naturally occurring sources of these hydrocarbons, and as Aaron has just told you, some of those hydrocarbons are absolutely critical for the kinds of organization or kinds of ecosystems that we have seen on dives earlier in this expedition and during the last expedition as well.
Fish behavior at its best. I wish I knew more about fish, actually. It's like Tom asked if this is a sneezing fish. Kind of looks like it.
It's a fish having a fit. Little Herc is about 2 meters above the seafloor now. Because the ship is moving ahead at about to 550 meters an hour, we are still trying to mow the lawn with Little Herc. That is moving side to side across our designated track towards Seep 1. But it doesn't give us huge amounts of time to linger on the seafloor without, again, stopping our procession, which takes some time. It gives us enough time to take quick looks at biology, but not extensive looks. Haven't seen much in the way of burrows here, except these crab burrows. Haven't seen much in the way of crabs, but we are seeing burrows, which I think are related to crabs.
It's a little bit of staining there. Interesting.
Yep. Still on the extreme southeastern flank of this high that we got on at waypoint 1. And it would be around the flanks of this topography that I would expect to see fluid escape. Virtually all the topography in this part of the Gulf of Mexico is related to the upward movement of old salt evaporite deposits that disrupt the overlying sediments, and it's one of the major reasons for the trapping ability of Gulf of Mexico sediments for oil and gas. In fact, we have a blog on this subject at the Okeanos website. For those of you who have found that website, I have written a blog about the history of the Gulf and why that trapping happens, and
Why the trapping of hydrocarbons happens?
Right. Feel free to go to that website and read that blog. It's interesting. We've got a figure too.
So as I understand it, the way that all this salt got here in the first place was through geologic time, successive openings and closings of the Gulf of Mexico. So it closes, all the water evaporates?
No, it happened over a relatively, in a period of geologic history called the Colovian, which was part of the Jurassic period in the Mesozoic, about 160 million years ago, but over a relatively small period of time, a few million years. It was, at that time, the Yucatan Peninsula had rotated up, was in a different position than it is now. It was tucked up against what is now eastern Mexico, and what is now northern South America was tucked up against southern North America, and Africa was in there too. In fact, the Bahamas and Florida were in the triple junction between Africa, North America, and South America. And water was leaking in from what was the big ocean at that time, the Tethys Ocean to the north and east. And as North America and South America began to separate over a few million years, water leaked in, evaporated, and a quite thick accumulation caused by the evaporation of seawater of salt formed, and that's called the Luan salt, L-O-U-A-N-N. That's one of the basic basal formations, the lowermost formations in the Gulf of Mexico. And over the last 150 plus million years, that salt has been loaded with younger sediments, and it's a little bit like putting your boot down in wet mud. You see the mud bubble up and around your boot, and that's what's happening now to that salt as it's loaded, as it's weighted down with the overlying material. It comes up in a kind of a squeegee mode, and in a very complex way that we call diaparism or piercements. And so the salt itself is impermeable, but it deforms the overlying sediments, which contain varying amounts of organic carbon. And as those sediments are loaded and heat up, that organic carbon eventually turns into various hydrocarbon products that we used to drive modern civilization. And because the salt is impermeable at the core of these features, the oil and gas traps along the flanks. And so we often look along the flanks of these positive features, these domes, to hunt for commercial accumulations of oil and gas. And that's why we're surrounded right now by about 8 rigs out here southeast of the mouth of the Mississippi River, and that's why the Gulf of Mexico is the oil and gas province that it is. We are seeing some staining here too. Yeah, we are seeing maybe mussels. I don't know.
Yeah, it looks like it. At least mussel shells.
Certainly got shells. Let's take a look.
And looks like, yes,
Looks
some
like
bacterial
tube worms
mat.
too, huh?
Yeah.
Some, yep.
So the bacteria, Veggiatoa, the orange kind there.
If we can scan left and right, and we have time to do that, we can keep moving.
And it does look like some tube worms.
If we can scan left and right, if we have time to do that, then we'll move on. That looks like a shark in the
Yeah, I was
center
gonna say
view.
a little shark. Oh, and
We
bubbles.
got bubbles. We do have bubbles in the middle. Okay, we're going to want to stop here then. That's a good catch.
They were going pretty good. Did they really stop?
I don't know, maybe. Yeah, let's take a look. I still see them in the right center view. Well, let's put it this way. I saw them, and I think they're about where the lasers are now.
I think so too.
No worries.
Two sharks?
My sense is that they were in the foreground now. They're below our view. Well, I thought I had seen them after you said that, and now I'm not so sure, of course.
Yeah, it looked like a pretty good stream of bubbles, too, when it was there.
Yeah, I agree.
So if you kind of like lateral to your right a little bit and then back up, I'm looking at the a still of the previous video where we saw them. So I need to back up a little bit more.
It was somewhere in here, if they're here.
I think I see some little. Yeah. Thought I saw some glittering there a moment ago.
There you go. Yep, that's
Could
right.
be wishful.
Just left of the lasers, I think.
Oh, I don't see them. Yeah, I agree. So, yeah, where they are on this still is like, see those two blackish patches towards the bottom right of the screen? It was in the farther away of one of those, but I don't see them now.
They may have been trapped gas bubbles, and when that shark or some other life moved around, they might have been trapped and released from those clamshells. They're just kind of waiting
If
to
you
be released.
swung around
Movement
to the right,
caused them.
we would get the same view as we had before. So as in you would be on the right looking towards the left. Right, rotate and lateral, or yeah. Kind of like, I guess, pirouettes around those two black spots that I was talking about. Bacteria, Veggiatoa, the orange kind there.
If we can scan left and right, and we have time to do that, we can keep moving.
And it does look like some tube worms.
If we can scan left and right, if we have time to do that, then we'll move on. That looks like a shark in the
Yeah, I was
center
gonna say
view.
a little shark. Oh, and
We
bubbles.
got bubbles. We do have bubbles in the middle. Okay, we're going to want to stop here then.
Okay, that's great. Thank you.
Hiding under a tube worm.
Oh,
Now, is that camouflage? Is that that skin pattern, Aaron? Is that what that's designed to try to be? Is he's hiding in tall cotton so that?
I would assume so.
I mean, that might be designed to be camouflage where he is right now in shell beds and.
I think I see some tube worm heads, so maybe those are alive.
He's not uncamouflaged where he is right now. If he weren't. Certainly alive. They're certainly alive.
Well, I see live things
there's an
on
anemone.
them.
There's an anemone, I guess. That's
But yeah,
right.
no, I think of that one on the right. That's actually the tube worm sticking out there.
That's right. Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Yes. Oh, and that one too. Yep. Can see their heads. Thanks. Yeah, can we also look at that fuzzy looking thing down on the left? I'm just curious about that. You can't see it yet. Zoom out a little bit more. It's right to the left. See? Right there? Yes.
It's a chained dogfish within the cat shark family, according to John Reed. Thank you, John.
Yeah. Look like an octocoral of some kind.
Certainly,
Yes?
certainly different bivalves than we've seen before, too. Not seeing area mussel in sight or mussel shell, but certainly seeing different bivalves, clams, and looks like another one there in the foreground.
Yep, thank you.
Yeah, we are done here. Let's move. And point 3 will work, gentlemen.
So, someone from the Cordes lab says that, yes, that is a white color morph of Anthomastus, which is an octocoral, which I think they're saying a white color morph of a coral that's normally purple.
Oh.
I've seen purple ones that look like that before. Oh, look, a flounder. Neat. I think your camouflage is so great, flounder.
Yes, sir. You know, I just call it. I like numerical order within a dive, so I just call it 1. You know, can we prefix it with the dive number? Call it 081. Great, thank you. Oh, that's a flounder there. There's an edible species there. Oh boy, do I like flounder. But we're not going to stop the dive for it. Everybody will, all the animal rights activists out there will be happy that I'm not.
Besides, it's not lunchtime yet.
Oh, it depends entirely on here in the van. There's no such thing as not being hungry at any particular time.
Yeah, I know that. I've been there.
Got staining here. Again, we certainly saw bubbles. They must have been intermittent, but we saw bubbles at that location, and we have dropped a virtual marker there.
Yeah, so I was just looking at the video replay again. It's right next to me, and you can really see where a fish comes up and disturbs it, the bubbles start, and then they
There's some
stop.
bubbles. There's some bubbles.
Yeah, we've got bubbles there on the.
Bottom center of your screen.
Yeah, I got.
Crab. Cool, some kind of a spider crab. Missing one of its claws, looks like. Sort of walks like a spider. Pretty cool. A Rochina crab. Thank you, Bob.
This is Okeanos Explorer. We're in the midst of dive 08. We are in a water depth of a little over 300 meters, and we are proceeding to a series of acoustically designated seep areas, bubble escape, hydrocarbon escape areas that we know occur naturally in this area. And when we get close to our first one, we are going to slow the ship down, stop it, and do a thorough search of the area to try to confirm whether or not these acoustically identified plumes, bubble streams, exist in the area. We've already identified one and possibly two locations where we've had bubbles escaping the seafloor. We'll be doing this for the next 5 hours or so, and we invite you to join us. Again, I want to say as background here that this part of the Gulf of Mexico, south and east of the mouth of the Mississippi River, is a well-known hydrocarbon area. It's a well-known province for commercial accumulations of hydrocarbons, but everyone needs to know that there are many, 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 probably thousands of these naturally occurring hydrocarbon escapes in the Gulf of Mexico, and that's what Okeanos Explorer is out here to try to document. Stay with us. Gentlemen on the beach, we are approaching Seep 7 from the south and west. We're not more than a couple of tens of meters now from it. We will stop the ship over what we think is this seep area, and we will take a look around.
For Sirius, what we're looking for is bubble streams in the water column.
Seeing a little bacterial staining here of the seafloor.
Any sort of persistent bubbling is
no large
easy to
biological
pick up.
concentrations as yet.
We did stumble upon a seep that appeared as a bright reflector in Little Herc, and there was a transient bubble stream, but it was never picked up on sonar. It was the bright reflection of the clam targets that led us there. We have an interesting target right now.
Yeah, you have the cursor on it right now.
Yeah, it's persistent. Unfortunately, in that particular direction, we've had some reverberations.
I've got a couple of items that look like tube worms here. Although I don't see a substrate on which the tube worms have generally a sedimented seafloor here. Nothing in the way of hard outcrops, no hard grounds, no hard targets on the Sirius sonar. We've got some staining in front of us, though. That's a bigger indication. Let's slow down. Let's slow down a little bit and take a good look here.
You know, we could have some rock below us. Doesn't take. My sample is about 30 feet thick. So if I have 28 feet of rock and then 2 feet of mud on top, you're not going to see the rock.
That's true.
But I'm going to see it.
Our experience in the biology, though, is that that rock's got to be pretty close to the seafloor for the biology to attach to it.
Yeah. In one of the dives, we picked up one of those solitary worms, and there was a big clamshell attached to it.
Oh,
It
okay.
was attached to a big clam. So it started at the surface and was able to keep up with sedimentation.
Alrighty.
And stay above the muddy bottom.
Yeah, I think so. We can move on. That's clearly an indicator that we might be seeing proximal escape of bubbles, though. Some more of that material that I think has been called hyacinth by Bob Carney earlier. Yeah, it's certainly some more burrows that we have been calling crab burrows, location. So we may have missed it. That's always possible. We were searching an area that was roughly a circle around the designated location that gives us perhaps a circle of 50 meters, but we did not see anything. We have multiple options to investigate in this vicinity. Our next target's about, oh, it's not very far. It's about 220 meters away. We're a little bacterial staining there in the foreground. And some additional staining. This has been an indication of the proximity of bubbles in the past. Got a depression coming up, looking at us now on Little Herc. Some modeling and burrowing. These appear to be burrows. Those appear to be burrows in the foreground.
Do you have an ETA to our next area of interest?
Let's see, distance there, distance to it is on the order of 100 meters. We're moving at 0.3, not too long.
Thanks.
I mean, we've got 4 seeps that we're identifying here, and then we're going to be moving to the east. I don't envision the way we're going that we're going to get anywhere near as far east as you had originally envisioned for your waypoints 4 and 5. I just want you to be aware of that. Got some some staining there to the left and crab burrows to the right. Staining in the background as well.
At this time.
Well, it could mean that the acoustic information implies an intermittent source of escape. We have seen some evidence on the seafloor for features like staining, which we have associated with gas escape elsewhere, but we aren't seeing them. That could be it. It could be that our error on some of our EM302 previous multi-beam, and also something we call EK60, which is our single beam echo sounder, 18 kilohertz echo sounder. It's a hull mounted. They're all hull mounted systems. There's a good sized fish with a large structure to the right. Can we get a pan down and look down that deep depression to the right? That would be good. It's an interesting looking feature, not immediately identifiable as biology, but
Similar to the one that we saw earlier where it was just kind of a deep, straight hole.
And lasers on when you get a chance, gentlemen, please.
Yeah, you can see how this fish's mouth is, if I'm seeing this correctly. Oh wait, never mind.
We had lasers on when you,
that.
oh, they are, sorry. Boy, it's an interesting looking hole. I'm not sure entirely what would create that. And for those of you out there in the biology community, if you're looking on, we can use the input. Maybe back off a little bit and get a sense from the lasers of what the size of that is. Ah, there we go. I've got him. I've got him now. Sorry. So it's close to a half a meter across in the long dimension.
Looks biological to me. I don't know what would have made it, but you can see how it's a little bit more carved out on the side closer to us. I think that the fish wants to get in the shot, perhaps.
That's a good-looking fish. What kind of fish is that?
I don't know, but you know, this fish actually has a real tail, unlike the ones that we see in the really deep water that they just kind of go into a
That's
point.
great. Well, it would be obliging if the fish actually went into the hole and showed us that he made it. That would be tile fish is the
Tile fish. Thank
a
you.
tile
Mike.
fish burrow. Well, there we go.
Fish also.
Fantastic. Very nice shot, gentlemen.
He does seem a little territorial about this burrow, so maybe he made it, or she. Don't know.
Well, he wants to occupy it. That's great. I think we can move on, gentlemen, when you
Bob says the swimmers are transparent and look a bit like a pelagic polychaete, which I would concur with. This is another pretty deep burrow here, with what looks like a little tunnel going out in the farther side there. Far right side. And maybe that's the exit there of that tunnel that we just saw. So another tilefish type burrow. Is a tilefish the actual fish that we were just looking at earlier? Another anemone. Alright, so we're seeing some staining here. Again, indicative of seepage. think this is probably the same staining that we saw when we approached this particular target. Yeah. Another pretty large burrow. See, that's another one of those tilefish type burrows that we've been seeing around here. Fish coming up in the water column. And yep, does look like another tilefish burrow. So we haven't seen these kind of deep burrows in deeper water, but then, you know, we haven't seen these kind of fish in deeper water. So this one. Can we get a zoom on this fish, please?
Does anyone know what they do with all the sediment that they excavate? I don't see any mounds on the sides of these holes.
No, maybe they spread it around. Maybe they don't put it all in the same spot, but that's a good question. Can you turn the lasers off, please? No. Oh, we're losing our fish. There he goes. That's good. Thank you. Yeah, that's good. Thanks. Seeing a little staining on the seafloor. I think we are approaching within, let's see here. How far are we? There's a little seepage here, see? Slight, as we've been seeing. We're moving on to one. I mean, we are seeing staining around all these targets at least, so it's not as though there's absolutely no seepage. Just nothing. Yeah, I mean, this sort of thing you wouldn't expect to show up on, you know, multi-beam.
Communities associated with those. We have seen some bacterial staining. We are still in the extreme western part of our dive. We've seen a number of potential seep locations with our acoustic data, and we're investigating those. No, we have seen a couple of instances of bubbles escaping from the seafloor, but nothing persistent. We are continuing our look, so stay with us. This is the Okeanos Explorer. Seen these before. It's no, keep going. But Aaron has left the room, so I am biology-less. So if Mike or anyone else can tell me what that vertical-looking tube is, that would be great. I'd be tempted to call it a tube worm, but I'm sure I'm wrong about that. Some staining again. We've seen this periodically. Haven't seen communities. We've seen virtually no outcrop, no hard ground outcrops on this dive thus far. Isolated. Deep as in thick. Oh, we're on the we're on the top of what they call the Mississippi Cone. It's the Mississippi Delta. Some of the thickest sediments in the Gulf of Mexico. Somewhere in the neighborhood of 14 to 16,000 meters. I mean, you guys at BOEM can tell me exactly, but it's very, very thick here. We have many kilometers of sediment that are only 2 million years old or less. So this was the major outlet for the glaciers in the northern part of.
Not a little bit more.
Yeah, we just got confirmation from our Bureau of Ocean Energy Management colleagues at Stennis. I think that's where they are right now, our ECC at Stennis.
Yeah,
that
Stennis,
that we've got in excess of 15,000 meters of sediment below the ROV right now. It's a lot of sediment. One of the thickest sediment accumulations in the world. So there's no wonder that we're cooking these sediments as we pile them up and creating a lot of oil and gas that seeps out naturally.
Yeah, a lot of organics were buried with those sediments.
That's right.
In certain instances, it was very, very rich, and those are the primary source rocks. There's about 3 of them in the Gulf of Mexico. When they get to a certain temperature and pressure, they start cooking.
Yep. It's a big geological reactor.
Mm-hmm. And the source rocks in this area have been cooking for tens of millions of years and probably seeping for tens of millions of years also.
Yep.
Seeping naturally to the seafloor.
Yeah, and certainly one of the things that we've been doing over the last week with our colleagues at the Center for Coastal Ocean Mapping at the University of New Hampshire is trying to pin down the relationship between what we see as escaping hydrocarbons in the water column with our acoustic hull-mounted systems with what we then can image on the seafloor. And we've made progress in not only identifying and spatially correlating the acoustic data with the seafloor data, but also in trying to measure rates, quantify the fluxes that we actually see from the seafloor. We know that there are many, many, many such seeps in the Gulf of Mexico and in other hydrocarbon provinces covered by seawater around the world. So are we stopped? Are we stopped over Seep 1, or are we moving from Seep 1 to Seep 2 now? I think that's great, Jeff. I think it's a good idea. Again, more staining here. Still looking for that elusive bubble escape feature, but some indications here that we might be proximal to something like that. I've only seen one substantive biological concentration on the seafloor here. Do have some staining here in front of us. We've seen that off and on throughout this dive. Only one biological accumulation associated with it, and we did see intermittent bubbles from that one. Have not seen a real smoking gun here other than that one intermittent seep site. That was a hake. Yeah, I'm seeing that target now at about 8 meters at your 340 from Sirius.
Quite a lot of dark staining around here.
No, I think it was reasonable to stop there and take a look around. We might want to get a little higher with Herc if we've got the visibility for it. I'd like to stay between 1 meter and 2 off. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, just a little bit higher. Gives us a little bit better depth of field. No, that's good. Well, yeah, you could give me another 1/2 meter. Yeah, something like that, yeah. A lot of staining here. So it doesn't surprise me that acoustic evidence for plumes has been around. I think we may be missing these. It's possible, but keep looking around enough. We're going to blunder into at least one. And I use the word blunder, gentlemen, not because you are blundering, but because we're doing what we can do given the amount of space we've got to cover. And we're doing, so that's.
Yep. I mean, birds spend quite a lot of time building nests, yeah?
They
A
do.
lot of energy.
They do. Eating and reproduction, two of the primary motivations of yeah, well, certainly got, it looks like shells, yes?
Yeah, I think clam shells.
Can we get a zoom? And the lasers, please? There we go. Again, looks like clams rather than mussels. We're seeing clams here. They
Yep.
don't look. There may be a few that are alive. There are a lot that aren't.
Yeah, possibly. I can't confirm that any of them are alive, but
Now, what would those be? Does anybody? Are you a mollusk person at all? Venericardium or something like that, or?
if they are seep-related clams, they're probably in the genus Calyptogena.
Calyptogena.
And I think that
Again, no sign of fluid escape associated with these, but that's the first accumulation of biology, living or dead, other than single specimens of fish and so on that we've seen in a while. That's great, guys. We can continue. In a small depression as well, that could, again, be a place that was seeing bubble escape and isn't now. And that might be the reason that the clams are no longer alive.
oh, there was another fish, this little burrow. Coming from, or what patterns on the seafloor were close by? Oh, there they are. Never mind.
There they are.
Yep, right there.
Good eye, Cody. I guess. I think.
Yep, Cody.
So the idea now, gentlemen, will be to get stable and get 3 to 5 minutes of video of this stream the way we did with the seeps before.
That fish is sitting right on top where the bubbles were coming out.
I'll let you make that call. We
outta
want to
here,
get a
fish.
stable situation. If you need to sit down, that'd be all right.
Do you still see the bubbles?
I don't.
No, bubbles have ceased.
Pretty sure it's right in front of that fish. I thought it was coming out of that dark patch, but
You look down at that gray patch then, once
or
you're
that
satisfied.
that little depression right
Because
there.
I mean, that looks like, you know, a mound with a little depression in it. Suspect.
Well, that's might be what we're facing here. We might be facing a whole series of these intermittent. We need to sit here a few minutes though and see if we see it again. We want to come wide though. Get a.
I'm gonna get that fish to swim over it and disturb it again.
Yeah, they might be trapped just below the surface, and anytime a fish swims near it, it releases some.
Yeah, exactly. Plumbing in these things can be complicated. It may be building up and then explode.
Yep.
From under a ledge, under the might be a hard ground under the sediment surface. Let's just give it a second.
Yeah, as Jamie said on the video replay here, it does look like it was escaping from that darker patch in the middle.
Could explain why we haven't seen more of these, that we've just gone by with Herc in between bursts of bubbles. And we may have gone by them before and just not been in sync with them as they. But this is we've got where they escaped in the field of view. So. The fish too
Getting
is
closer.
Fish too is waiting for this escape.
Maybe this fish could help it out.
Well, that's what makes me think, though, that we might be looking at an intermittent explosion of gas from the subsurface. There we go. It's Jeff Williams, one of our pilots, chipping in with creative terminology for the "if you look, you don't see it" seep.
It lasted long enough for us to come back and trace it at least.
The major seep. If it's in, you don't see it. If it's out, you do. Yeah, I guess I'd go with Dave's. You know, we might want to come up and pan around the immediate vicinity. I can't believe we. I think we had it nailed, though. I think this was where they were coming from. Well, there you go. And it would explain the serious target we just saw and couldn't track down a few minutes ago.
Right. Tricky bubbles.
Well, I think we've discussed that. I think it's possible that biology impacting the bottom might release some of this gas, and then it stops.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what do you think, gentlemen? Do we want to make tracks, or do we want to stay here longer? Well, that was exciting. It's another hake, I think. Hake. I don't think we found any bubbles around the wreck, but the days do run together at times here on the Okeanos Explorer. Just one good time after another. It's hard to remember what good time you're dealing with.
Dave bets that it's clams that we're seeing on the sonar.
Yeah, we're seeing hard grounds, though. We do want to.
Rocks.
I think we're going to want to do a stop here, gentlemen. Take a look. All right. Well, we could. I think let's stop the ship.
Got some anemones here.
First hard ground of the day.
First carbonate hard ground we've seen.
There's some shells. Some more clam shells, looks like.
Yeah, it's an area that we were seeing intermittent bubbles from earlier. An area like it. Very nice sonar guy.
Sonar dude.
Senior sonar dude. Not very many sonar dudes would predict bivalves and then have them. There we go. Got some anemones there.
And what else? little anemones and big ones.
I was going to say, what do we got there? Is that a coral?
It looks like a coral, although I have to zoom in on it to be sure. Can you do like a quick zoom? I'm not sure that it is a living coral there.
Is that a marker to the left? I mean, it looks like a marker.
You know, so there's some kind of a hard structure sticking out here. It's branching like a coral would be, but it seems to be colonized by another kind of a colonial anemone or zoanthid.
Is that a dead coral that is colonized by something else?
Yeah, I think so. Can you pan down to see what that other thing is? Oh, that's another, like an octocoral of some kind. But I've never seen one shaped like that. That's pretty neat.
That's beautiful, huh? Look at that.
Similar to that one that we saw earlier.
I was going to say, weren't you talking about it? The octocoral area looked similar. Fantastic. Really beautiful.
Really beautiful.
Beautiful.
Scaring it.
I think we're just
blowing it around. Just going with the.
But there was something else to the left. I want to pan left. Oh,
there's more of them down there on that rock. Octocorals. Yeah.
And if you could pan left a little bit more for me, that would be good.
Wondering, too, what that brown thing was under that rock.
I guess that's just another dead coral with an anemone encrusting it.
Yeah.
Where are these pesky escapes of hydrocarbons that are feeding these animals? That's what I want to know.
I wouldn't necessarily assume that there are hydrocarbons feeding these animals.
No.
These are not seep-related animals.
Fair enough.
This is a different kind of fish that I haven't seen before. Sure.
Yeah, I think we can. I think we can go, guys. I just want to take a look. That was our first hard ground of the day. No seep activity associated with it. So. Yeah, that suggests some kind of seep activity there, though. That seep we saw intermittent. Well, there's fishing line. Is that fishing line? Fishing line, perhaps. That certainly suggests seep activity. Yeah, got a bubble on a crab burrow on the lower right there. I've got bubbles on the Brine here now. I think we're good. Bob Carney suggests that we had clams in live position. I agree, Bob. I think some of these are live. We zoomed in on one patch earlier, and most of them were not, but I'm not going to say that we didn't have some alive. Haven't seen any mussels today, or at least none alive. Some staining here again. You know, in the large sense, we're between two topographic high elements in this area. We're in the head of a valley, a small submarine valley on the front of the Mississippi Cone. We're started the dive on the flank of a topographic high. It looked like the top of a salt dome, and we're moving now back towards, across a low, back towards another high. There's another, if I didn't know better, I'd swear that was a tilefish burrow.
I think that's what it is.
I don't know a lot about biology, but I'm just guessing. It's a wild guess.
Well, it looks similar to what more knowledgeable biologists about fish have said is a tilefish burrow.
Now, wait a minute. What is this woman trying to tell me?
That I'm not a fish biologist.
But that looks awfully small at the bottom to be a fish burrow. But yeah, I could be.
I mean, the fish could fit in there.
We call it the China fish because it's burrowing to China. It's amazing.
The sediment must be
No,
fairly
thanks.
competent to be able to hold the shape of that burrow.
It's really something. I'd love to
Does
see a
look like
big
it.
old stream of bubbles coming out of that. That'd make me feel more comfortable, but
Haven't seen any tilefish in a while, though, have we?
nope.
The makers of these burrows. A coral?
Well, there you go.
Wow.
Take a. Well, it could have more hard grounds here. We might want to slow the ship down here, gentlemen.
A living coral? I think a bamboo coral there.
Yeah, we definitely. We're going to want to take a look at this.
Lots of carbonate rock
Got more
there.
cat sharks or calico. Yeah, this is a good place to
The
take
depth
a look.
here is 346 meters. It looks like another bamboo coral, at least partially colonized by those other little cnidarians, anemones. And it looks like a lot more dead clamshells.
You
Maybe.
said that's a bamboo coral. We saw those in the med
Yep.
too. They're presumably very slow growing, correct? I mean, I was told that these might be 1,000 years old. Some of these corals in the med. There's a
Yeah, sea
sea
star there.
Yeah. Yeah, we're going to
It's a
want to
different
kind of
kind.
do a pirouette, take a look around here, convince ourselves we're not looking at. Cat sharks. Yeah, a lot of clam accumulations. Many look dead. Pretty photogenic looking anemones. Looks like a fish in the background there. Yeah, if we can swing around the backside here and just take a look at this other side of this outcrop, it'd be good.
I think that looks like some more of those white octocorals there on that carbonate rock. Those little,
Now,
look like flowers.
What is that fish right in front of us?
I don't know.
That's a pretty
That one. It's pretty though.
Yeah. And you said those are octocorals again. Those
Yep.
white on the carbonate hard ground.
Mm-hmm.
Look how cloudy that water is behind that outcrop, though.
Where those fish just shot out of, maybe?
Is that? You think that was it? Is that they shot out of there?
I think so.
Okay.
See, there's another.
Oh, there's
one
another
there.
fish there. Fair enough.
It's a pretty cool fish around here. These are, different from the ones that we're seeing all over the place.
All right. Well, when you run out of time, we can move on. Thank you, though.
And Bob Carney makes the observation that the rock seems to be cemented clamshells. It's quite possible. See that a lot. We don't actually have a lot of time to explore this particular location before the ship pulls us off.
That was good, gentlemen. Thank you very much. Yeah, we got some topography here. Got some up and down. Again, we fly between 1 meter and 2 if you can. If you have to go higher to avoid ridges, obviously you do it. But Fair bit of turbidity in this water. Some of it we may have kicked up ourselves, but
It looked like we saw a few solitary tube worms.
no, I
couldn't tell if they were alive.
I think we saw anemones. I'm not sure that. Do you think you saw tube worms here, Aaron? I didn't see anything. I thought was
So
a
I'm
tube.
looking at the video right now, and I think I see what you mean. They're kind of lying down. We didn't get a good zoom on them to see if they're alive, but yeah, I agree. Those look like tube worms. They could be alive. Earlier when I mean, these guys can hang on for quite a long time. It seems like in pretty low levels of sulfide, and the fact that there's all these clams here and all this carbonate rock suggests that there was a fair amount of sulfide at some point or other. Oh yeah, I see a few even sticking straight up over there. Yep.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, thanks for pointing that out. I had to look back at the video to examine that again.
Takes a geologist, geophysicist to see it, huh?
Yeah, I was looking at corals. Oh, some sponges there. I missed them.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if we had more hard grounds, and lo and behold, there they are. Well, this is, I think the topography associated with these waypoints ahead of us are going to be these two. More clams, clearly.
Yep.
Keep on the lookout for bubbles, everybody. If we see some, we're gonna stop here. But if we don't see obvious evidence, we're not. So we're just gonna take a scan and move on.
Yep, more dead clams. Rock in the middle there, which looks like it might have some more of those octocorals on it.
May not bode well for AT.
What weather?
Look at that ray.
Yeah. Wow, a ray. Neat. Really cool. I've never seen a ray down here. Do you want? I'm turning you back on.
And we won't let Aaron.
Running into interesting things is good.
We won't let Aaron stop for anything. Just gotta describe it on the fly. Oh, there we go. There's another small outcrop, anemone laden. Anemones like these, huh? What do they call those? Those are just a particular kind of anemone?
I'm sure they are a particular kind of anemone. No, I don't know what they're
but
called.
a kind that you know.
No, I don't know. I don't know them. I know I see this same kind everywhere, and I don't know what they're called.
Beautiful.
Actually.
They're beautiful anemones.
I mean, somebody suggested earlier Actinostolid, but Actinostolidae is a family, so.
That's great. Very nice. Very photogenic hard ground outcrop.
Yeah, those same anemones seem to find everything hard. They're all over shipwrecks, oil rigs, all these little tiny pieces of rocks lying around on the seafloor.
Hey. Well, cosmopolitan anemones.
At least in the Gulf. I wonder if this same kind is in other places of the world.
We hardly ever saw those big white-stalked anemones in the Mediterranean. Saw other anemones, but not those big white ones.
Did you see Lophilia there? I don't know if it occurs in that
Did not see
sea.
well, not what you were calling Lophilia yesterday. Those white,
Right.
squat white on the wreck.
Yep.
We did not see those. Saw gorgonians, saw soft corals, but
Right. I mean, Lophilia pertusa, it's interesting because it's the same species everywhere in the world, and that doesn't mean that it occurs in every single ocean, but in a lot of them. So
now we did see that what you were calling bamboo coral earlier. That we
Yep.
did see in the Gulf or in Med,
right.
particularly in the Western Med.
Yes, could be a different species.
Oh
though.
well, sure. I would. Yeah, I mean, extraordinary complexes of burrows that look almost identical to what we were calling crab burrows in the Med. I mean, very few crabs on the seafloor, though. We saw more crabs on the seafloor in the Med. Whether maybe this is the crabs' day off. They're in the burrows. They don't like video. They don't want to be famous crabs. And the term crab, that's a disparaging term. If you saw if you call someone a crab or crabby, they're in a bad mood. So maybe these are crabby crabs. Where did that come from? Where did that? I mean, I just thought of that. Where does that term come? Why is one called crabby if one is in a bad mood? Because you move sideways? What? Then maybe that's it.
These crabs do seem to be kind of territorial and aggressive.
They are a little
seems
feisty.
Like.
That's
So
right.
I could see it. Just like when you say that someone is bugging you, you think about gnats and how annoying they are.
That I understand. That bugging me part I get. But crabby, maybe, I guess maybe it's just claws up. One of those.
So Andrea was telling us, remember those redfish that we saw at that clam carbonate outcrop that we were looking at a good while back? But we didn't know what they were. She says that they are kind of roughy.
Really?
Bigger than the roughies we saw around the wreck.
I was going to say the roughies we saw in the Med looked classically roughy, like they had those big kind of two-pronged tails and they're kind of circular bodies.
Okay.
Not very large. These look really different.
I never knew what they looked like.
These look more like jacks, small jacks. But I certainly bowed her. Was it Katrina that told her?
Andrea.
Or Andrea? Yeah,
So
I certainly
said
bowed to
she
her.
worked with Steve Ross for quite a while.
Yeah, I certainly bowed to her wisdom on that. That's interesting, though, because we saw a lot of them in the Med, a lot of roughy. Tend to hang out over seamounts and things. That's where we tended to see them, is over highs.
Were there lots of corals and things like that on those highs also?
In the Western Med, yes. In the Eastern Med, no. Not enough nutrient, I guess, in the Eastern Med. It's kind of a, what's the term? Oligotrophic. It's not very.
Doesn't have a lot of food.
Doesn't have a lot of food.
Yeah.
But in the Western Med, we saw all kinds of biology in the Western Med, including upper level. We saw whales and dolphin everywhere. It's wonderful. Got attacked. The ROV got attacked by a swordfish. That was interesting.
On the dive today, I was looking at the video, and you could see some dolphins swimming around under the ship. It's pretty cool.
Andrea says it's a different genus of roughy. Okay. Well,
different than the ones you saw in the Med that are classic round kind, I suppose.
Well, I don't know about classic, but they're certainly the ones that I was told, again, when I was there, that they were more characteristic of what people think of when they think of roughy.
Interesting. The common name of this roughy is actually Darwin's slimehead. Sounds good.
Andrea, that's great. Thank you.
It's a cool name.
A lot of extensive staining in front of us now. Very nice. Very nice, very nice. Big shiny area. That might mean hard grounds.
Yeah, it looks like bacterial mat there. See the orange kind?
Well, if we want to slow down, gentlemen, I'm willing to take a look around here.
Some scattered around clamshells.
We saw that orange staining in the area we saw bubbles earlier. I don't know. We haven't seen that. That orange staining's not been very common.
No, not a lot, but there is a kind of
Again,
Veggiatoa bacteria that's
Bacteria,
orange. So I think that that's what it is. I think that's what it is.
Well, look at, yeah. Well, that's Kelly was just saying it may be a different species of bacteria called Vegeatoa that is orange. But again, it's all indicative, I think, of nutrients proximal to where we are.
Well, certainly. I mean, these bacteria oxidize sulfide, and they use that energy to fix carbon. So they are a direct indicator of presence of sulfide in the sediment.
Yeah, we're seeing a pretty big one at Sirius is what 095. That's pretty. 15 meters out, 12 meters out. We've seen things that look like this before. A lot of targets. I'd like to have one of these prove out to be a nice big bubble stream, though. Yeah, I mean, you know, certainly these are provocative looking echoes on Sirius. These targets have length. Yeah, yeah. Certainly looks like it to me.
I thought I just saw a bubble back to the left.
Yeah, actually looking ahead of us on Sirius. Oh, you say think we're looking at footballs, huh? Forward of us? Yeah, maybe so. Certainly one of them could be that echo at 340 might be a buff football. Yeah, try not to get too close to the seafloor.
It's a rock. Tube worms?
Could be. Certainly seeing scattered biological debris on the seafloor.
Yeah, I'm starting to think that was it.
Dave, I like that one because of its orientation.
Yeah, because he's gone. Everything associated with over and untethered is the left center of the back. Nothing still moves.
So you don't want to turn around. Let me try and line up on
Yeah, let's give this place a solid look around. This is pretty. This is as provocative looking in areas we've seen all day right here.
you may want to have a picture of yours right there.
No problem.
There's enough Vegeatoa here to fill a basket.
Yeah, I believe that's a real. It's persistent. It's probably going to be a pretty good find to get there. So distance is 15 meters.
Dave is putting his personal reputation on this particular echo.
So straight in front of me. John? Yep.
So you want to come towards 300. Something like that. Overhead.
To the left. I'm guessing. Oh, there it is. There
There we go. We have bubbles to the right. Bubbles to the right. There we go. Yeah.
And now they stop. Still there. Still there.
Oh, excellent. Well, I was pretty sure we'd see something here. There we go. Good. All right, gentlemen. Well, we have a protocol here. We want to stabilize, get down in front of it, and shoot about 3 minutes or so, with focused on the stream coming out of the seafloor.
Can we get the lasers on too, please, Jamie?
Yeah. Can we get the lasers on, gentlemen, when you get a chance, please? Oh,
Got it.
they're on.
Well, they just turned them
They're on. Boy, they don't mark their escape with an obvious structure, do they?
No,
They just
as yet, it's still hard to tell where they're coming from.
boy, you get down on this sediment, and it's tough to see those bubbles in the background. We're going to need a partial zoom here, I think, to. Boosh. Well, I had a feeling that was going to happen. That was Amelia Earhart landing at Howland Island. Now you can see the lasers. Gravity is an amazing thing when you let it take over. That was pilot. I'm seeing him in the right center part of your field there. There, yeah, a little pan right, just a little bit.
I think they're straight ahead.
I see him a little bit to the right.
Just up a little. Oh, they're there. Okay. Yep. Although they're not coming right out of the anthill, they're coming right out in front of it.
No, that's the point. I mean, you look for a structure that they would come out of, and they're just, the plumbing must just be fascinating. Do we have a name for this feature? We haven't named it yet. I think we need to put a virtual target on it and call it Dive 082. I think that was our next target, our next virtual marker. Yep. There's just a difference in rate just as we're looking at it.
Yeah, this is maybe the fastest steady one out of one source that
we saw another one the other day. One of the ones that we saw monitored the other day was going this fast. Gentlemen on the beach, is this about the level of zoom you want?
Yeah, this is great.
Right. You can see shadows coming up. Very high rate here.
Yeah.
Oh, you haven't done that yet, such that we can see individual bubbles. So, yes, I can already see more individual bubbles now. I see.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, gentlemen, we've got other streams proximal to where we are right now. And there's a substantive difference in rate just on this one escape structure here.
Kind of looks like they're going down slowly.
Yeah. They look like they're going back into the ground.
Yeah, I know.
Are you playing this
Oh
in
yeah,
reverse?
like when you look
guys?
at a
No, that's an optical.
fan
That's
or
an optical
something.
illusion. If they come out at a certain rate, your eyeball is going to read it as going backwards.
That's exactly what it looks like.
Right. You know how like when you see a fan blade spinning and it looks like there's a dark one moving slowly in the opposite direction?
But what it
Kinda like
is
that.
testimony to the change in rate, even
Neat.
within a couple of minutes. You've now got 2 minutes of video on this at this location.
Hey, Jamie, now you know what I mean by sensors.
Yeah. It's just amazing to me that there is just not more relief associated with this escape over time. I mean, there were times when we've seen bubbles that had hydrate associated with them that came out under the lips of outcrops and things, but this is as nondescript an escape structure as you're going to find. Plenty of acoustic response when you get up in the water column, but you can see why they're difficult to see unless you stumble right across them.
Jamie, before you depart this site, if you could get the lasers straddling the source so we have a good frame of reference, that would be wonderful.
Roger that.
Roger that.
ROV Nav, we're just about done here, but we want to not move and zoom back and let them see this with the lasers bracketing it. Right, we just need
can't
to
see them.
we need to come wide a bit and hard to even. Are they on?
They are, but they're way
Oh, there
back.
they are.
So
Wow.
they would really like to get them closer. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, the idea was to try to get a shot with the lasers in the picture, but that may not be so easy. Get out of my field of view. That's pretty good. A little higher maybe. That's good.
Right. Bring the fish back, they said, because you could actually see them. But yeah. Yeah, Dave makes a good point. As long as you can scale the lasers to the little anthill-like feature.
Certainly the vent itself is a fraction of a centimeter across. A small fraction. If you're ready, gentlemen, we'll move off. There's another pretty prominent target nearby. Yeah, let's do it.
That was great. Thanks, guys.
No worries. We live to serve. We're investigating another stream now, close by.
That was great, guys.
Some lone tube worms, looks like there. I think I even see their little heads sticking out, so they're alive, for sure.
Best way to find these is up in the water column, up in the upper third of the view. That's if you just happen to see them going by, that's the. More Vegiatoa.
Vegiatoa. B as in bollard.
Bedgiatoa. Bedge.
You know, not
Bedgiatoa. Well, clearly an enunciation issue with our biology scientist. So. Bedgiatoa with a B. Like staining with an S. That's great. It is very orange. That's about the only orange thing we see down here. We're seeing a lot of other colors, but
crab's orange. It's chasing on.
Crab's orange. And
Yeah.
that one little fish, it looks like a squirrel fish or something. That's pretty orange.
And some of the squat lobsters are orange and some are white.
We haven't seen too many orange squat lobsters, but we have seen a lot of white ones. But I agree, I've seen pictures of orange ones. Now, what is this fellow here? We've seen this. We've seen this before.
Is that a lone tube worm?
Well,
Could be. There's a lot of staining around here. It's just kind of interesting.
We've seen examples of that before. But
Yep.
we can move, guys. We're just.
Could be just a lone tube worm. We've seen, sometimes you see scattered ones, just a few at a time.
Yeah, a lot more staining here. So clearly a pretty active area for the base of the food chain, at least, for the bacteria.
A little crab.
Here's a crab. I haven't seen too many on the seafloor today.
No, not very many. We seem to see more
Considering
in
the
deeper water.
number that we think are burrows that are crab related, not that many. Wow, look at all that. That really is amazing. It's really just modeled seafloor, isn't it? It's a Bedgiatoa field.
Yeah, it's quite a lot of it
Look
there.
at that. It's amazing. That's pretty photogenic seafloor.
Yeah,
Looks like a
it's really
Jackson
pretty.
Pollock painting. It's completely covered now with this staining. Incredible.
I'm getting a hard return around here somewhere. It's a little crab, a hole. Interesting.
Wow,
Is this a brine lake?
It looks like brine. It looks like a brine pool,
Yeah,
folks.
brine sea.
Looks like a brine seep.
Yes.
Neat.
Wow!
Yes,
Excellent, excellent, excellent. Look
you
at
can see the
this.
shoreline.
We want to put a marker down here, guys. This will be dive 083, and yes, we want to stop the show.
On one side, and that's the beach.
I was wondering when we were going to come upon one of these. So you can see brine pools on the sonar?
Can.
Ah. Got it.
Yeah, for those of you who have not seen one of these before, this is something that happens in the Gulf of Mexico and other places that are floored with salt. You'll get leakage, you'll get dissolution of the salt that is the core of the dome, and that will, where seawater actually impacts a salt deposit near the lid of one of these domes, and then because it's denser than surrounding seawater, it'll pool in depressions. You can see actually the feeders for the brine pool. Those are the depressions that you see in the pool. So we're going to want to go around the perimeter. Well, I don't know how big it is, but we're going to have to take a look around this. This is great. Wow, wonderful. This will be dive 08, number 3.
If you set gently down into it, you might actually get some waves hitting the beach.
Can someone give us a lat long for this location? Our real-time data feed hasn't been working for a while. Oh, sorry. Now, can we get a lat long for this location?
And we've got bubbles here in front of us as well.
So, what was that 19 point? Oh, got it. Yep, I got it.
Sorry. Yeah, we got it. We got it. We got it.
Is this current?
No, it's not. I was just checking. Sure. Absolutely.
Looks like one of those is a oil, maybe.
Yeah, there
maybe
could be oil, liquid hydrocarbon coming up in addition to gas here. We're going to want to take a look. I think to the right is oil, and to the left is gas. So we're going to want to take a look. Now, here's the situation, gentlemen, on this. Because that oil will coat the ROV, we're going to have to be a little bit careful to not to get over that right-hand stream.
Yeah, the one to the right does appear to be a little bit darker color.
Yeah, I think it's probably liquid.
It's only actually I think it's only dark because it's in shadow.
If
you
not
tilt
so
the camera
sure.
up, you'll find that it turns white the higher it gets.
Well, it gets lighter color, but it's not white. Yeah.
Yeah, we can pan up. We can pan up and take a look at it in the water column once we get situated.
No, look at his breath. It's when they hit the, when they stand.
Yeah, I got it.
I don't know.
You're calling me survey 2.
Yeah, we're going to want to actually also pan out and look up at these, and look at the relative expansion and ascent rate on these two. But that's, I would venture to say that's liquid, gentlemen. There may be gas in it too, but there's a lot more liquid in these.
Should we go outside and see if there's an oil slick out there?
Yeah. It looks like there's a wake behind those bubbles that are leaving, the oily ones.
Yeah, it looks like a tail.
Yeah, well, it wouldn't surprise me if it's got liquid. I mean, it's leaking out in a very different way than the gas is.
That's really neat.
Yeah, I think there may be gas here, but it's gas heavily coated with liquid.
You can see a little bit of like shimmeriness or something in the water. I don't know if that's because of different densities or
I think there's
temperature.
there's oil coming off these
That
bubbles
was
as they
gas.
rise.
There was just one gas bubble there.
It's a mixed flow. You know, you got gas and liquid here, both. Yeah, I think some of these are more bubble-like and some are more liquid. Fascinating.
Bob Carney thinks it's brine that's trailing.
Yes, that makes sense. So the density difference then. Refractive index difference. Because brine coming out of there too.
Yeah, we're very close to the edge of the brine pool, so that wouldn't surprise me. Although sometimes you'll see oil coming up along with the brine, and you'll see an oil coating on the brine pool as well. Well, we haven't looked at the brine pool yet. We will. Now, we are going to want to do a little bit of a survey around the edge of this pool. So when you're ready, gentlemen, we can do that. Yeah, before we leave, sure. That'd be great. Whoa. Well, there you go. That's what happens when two hake bump into each other by mistake.
I think they're coming out a little faster now.
Extensive staining here. Probably multiple streams of brine / gas / perhaps liquid hydrocarbon. Yeah, it should be. It'll be a shimmery kind of a backscatter in the lights. It'll be hard to image, and you can see streams in the seafloor where that brine will overflow and occasionally move downhill. You know that's not, but that's the brine on the left. See how indistinct the seafloor gets. So we're actually looking at the seafloor through a very, very thick, salty film. Hard to know how deep it is. Wasn't very deep at the edge, but could be quite deep.
Oh, yeah. So there's some really solid patches of white.
It's quite a surreal environment, isn't it? It looks very otherworldly, this kind of place. Seen videos of these.
Yeah, I don't see anything notably floating on top of this brine pool. Sometimes we've seen it just like waves lapping against it, and maybe barite floating on top of it.
If we put a skid down there, you'd see waves on it though.
I just mean when there is stuff floating on it, it's easier to actually see it moving.
Absolutely. We might still. Yeah, if you can do that, that would be great. Yeah, it looks like you're at the edge of the world, doesn't it? I mean, you just don't see much on the left side, except you know it's there. Now, see, I don't know whether that's something that's floating on the surface or something you're seeing something
I
down
think it
underneath.
seemed like something poking out from underneath.
Yeah, I don't think this is a very deep one. I think this is
No.
quite shallow.
Oh, cool.
Oh, there you go. There's a wave. See, there's the turbulence caused by the thruster. So you can see it in the
Yeah,
brine.
that's cool.
That's great. Look at that. Fantastic, fantastic. Well, that could be acoustically that brine seep would give you a hard return.
Yeah, it would.
And there's a wave. So you've created a wave in the pool.
Yeah.
So that's a
There's
wave coming
into
across the seafloor. And the fish know it as a solid surface. They probably skate across it. They don't get into it.
Well, considering that fish are breathing water, it might not be so cool for them to all of a sudden encounter this really salty water.
Well,
right?
not only that, it could be very oxygen deficient. There might be
Right.
virtually no oxygen in it, so
Right.
it would be tough for
Suffocating
them to.
fish.
Right.
There's a
Not for
very
long, though. They
large
swim
area
away.
in the Gulf. There's a very large area in the Gulf of Mexico called Orca Basin.
Right. Yeah.
Which gets up to 600 feet deep.
Right. Exactly. I've seen video.
and
I've
it
seen
has
video
a-
of Orca Basin.
Yeah, the Alvin was unable to dive into it when they first went in because they didn't have enough weight and they floated.
Yep.
Yes, too
And it
much
was
buoyant
tonight.
force there.
And you can see evidence for drainage out of the pool down the lip of the brine to other low points. That's what those little drainage features look like. That's where the brine is overflowed and actually come down to another low near the brine pool.
Looking at our seafloor amplitude map, we could very well encounter some more of these as we continue east.
Yeah, we won't spend a huge amount of time.
I'm not saying rush away or anything.
This
This is great stuff.
This is a great way to break the routine, though. It's good for the pilots to see something like this.
After lunch, I did doze a little bit, but not recently.
Right, there you go. Well, there you go. And there's the edge of the pool. And you know, if you were to take a thruster, you'd see waves breaking on the seafloor from the brine pool. It's a pretty unique looking experience. Seawater breaking on seawater. Well, the hake like it. They're around. Do you think you've done it? You've gone around it now, guys? Okay. Well, we could look at one more, and then I feel the need to move. I would bet there are bubbles all around here. It wouldn't surprise me. I think that we're in an extensive area of release here, and it could be brine / gas / liquid, / hydrocarbon liquid. But there's a wave. See, there's a wave breaking on the edge of the brine pool there. It's great. See, there are depressions, and that could be where the brine is actually leaking into the system. Well, those multiple circular depressions are probably the feeders for the brine, and then the brine overflows the limits of this depression and flows downhill till it mixes and re-equilibrates with seawater. Yeah, there you go. See, isn't that great? Yeah, you got a bubble coming up in front of you there.
Yeah, it looked like we had a little drop of oil floating up.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, oh yeah, I think so. I think you are because you're seeing the seafloor as a film. You're looking at the seafloor through a fog bank. Kind of shows you that you're on top of the pool.
Looks like you might have caught. You weren't careful enough. It looks like you got a little bubble of oil on the lens. Huh?
Now you're back out. You're back out into the Veggiatoa with a B, and so you're back out of the brine pool. I doubt the Veggiatoa are living inside the brine.
No, I've never seen anything living inside brine.
Right. So so there you go. We're back out on the seafloor now. And I'm.
What is that thing? It looks like a big snail shell.
Yeah, let's get a zoom in on one of these structures if we can.
The right one.
Get out of our get out of our way. That one on the right too is interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It was like
pan right and get the one on the right, if you would.
It's like a really pretty seashell over there. Okay, well.
Well, either one. I think look like big snails, don't they?
Well, this one looks like a big snail. I don't know the left one.
Wow. Yeah, it's
it looks just a shell.
Conch-like. So what's the I don't think we have one. We don't have one.
No, I've never seen a conch shell on the seafloor. So we wouldn't have an abbreviation for it.
Well, there you go. They're pretty, huh?
Yeah. Cool. Can we look at the other one now?
So the other one is living, eh?
Is it left more or out, back out a little bit?
It was left. I thought Dave was right. I thought it was left. We did a hard stop there. There he is. He was alive.
Okay.
Yeah, let's keep making our way towards waypoint 2, folks. That was fascinating, though. Thank you.
I mean, this thing looks all broken.
I think we should allow Jeff to take full responsibility for this one. Got broad shoulders. Yeah, that. Fantastic, guys. Very nice. That was a crowd pleaser. Southeast. Southeast. Very nice, very nice. Very exciting. That's my first close-up brine pool.
Jelly?
Looks like probably the remains of the snail that Jeff crashed. The pieces of the gastropod that.
Some more flow features, and we're probably heading for another brine pool right now.
Yeah, see, I think these drainages are related to proximity to brines. They're overflow channels from these brines.
There's holes there.
Yep, we got bubbles. We got disseminated bubbles coming. If we see a really strong, guys on the beach, let me know if you want to stop at any particular spot. It looks like we've got little fumaroles here. Yeah, let's take a zoom on one of these.
There was a couple bubbles center of the screen.
Yeah, let's stop, guys. Let's take a look. We haven't seen anything that looks like this. Wow, those look like little volcanoes. And maybe they're brine volcanoes. It's possible that we're seeing a mix of bubbles and oil and brine coming up in these.
What do you suppose
I
is
thought I
this
just
white
saw a
stuff?
gas bubble come up out.
Yeah, I saw one come out of this one right here.
Right.
But that's the first.
That could be. That could be hydrate.
Fantastic. I think there's some brine in that.
Oily or briny?
I think there's some brine in that too.
Those little brown structures in the back are kind of weird too. So they're like sticking up.
I don't know. Are those biological? I would think they would be.
I don't
Or
know.
they're chemical precipitates of some kind.
Could be that.
Because I
also.
think that whole mantle of that volcano-looking structure, that vent-looking structure, is made of the same stuff. I don't think the bubbles are coming up out of the. They're coming out from along the flank as well as from the top of that cone-like feature. But see, there's got to be some brine. There's got to be. Yeah, there's got to be some brine associated with this because the fumarole-like feature in front has got drainage associated with it, so it's got to have dense fluids coming out of it as well. It's very photogenic seafloor. Well, these look like salt brine volcanoes that you see in salt pans in lakes in the Middle East, and they're eruptions. They're salt eruptions, and they probably have hydrocarbons in them. Salt can't be that far down here, though.
It's not. I can tell you. This overall feature that we've been looking
Yeah, and you've got a lot of bubbles in the foreground now. You see them. Yeah, we might want to back up a bit and see what was coming up right in front of the ROV.
Oh, another little oil volcano this time.
Yeah, we may be got to be careful we don't foul ourselves too much with liquid escape here.
Well, get that one in front of you because that's a very interesting feature. I was starting to say Ian McDonald has seen features like this that are the main structure is actually hydrate, natural gas hydrate, and the brownish staining may very well be oil-stained hydrate.
Yeah, well, you would know better than me, Bill. That I'm not that familiar with, but never seen things like this on the seafloor before.
Yeah, this is only the second time I've seen it. I'm glad we're here.
What's our depth and temperature here?
ROV depth 340. Temperature is, what's the temperature here? 11.19 centigrade.
It's a little bit shallow and a little bit warm for hydrate, though.
Now, is that what we were seeing the bubbles from?
Yep.
Really?
Look how shimmery it is.
Well, I think we're in very dense seawater. I think this is,
so
I think we're in shimmery, high, in proximity to these brine pools, you're going to see waves of density differences in the seawater. I don't know how that's affecting the buoyancy on the ROV, but
Oh, there we go.
oh, look at it! Look at it just leak up and gone. That's great. That's fantastic.
Please pardon the interruption. Your conference contains less than 3 participants at this time. If you would like to continue, press star 1 now, or the conference will be terminated.
Yeah, if one of you guys would press star 1, somebody who is on the telecon on the beach, that would help us. We can't do it from here.
Yeah, I took care of it, Jamie.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, I don't want, and again, we do have to, we can't spend forever, so we're going to have to, if you guys on the beach are okay, I'm still feeling the need to get over towards waypoint 2. We're now about an hour and 45 minutes from the end of the dive.
Yeah, my impression is that these things were coming out a bit faster before we actually zoomed in on it.
Well, it may be that we're actually looking at bubbles coming from a variety of sources nearby. And so when we pan out, we actually see the collective of multiple small escape sites. Where we zoom in, we're only seeing one. Let's come out. Let's come out. Anything else, guys, you want to see in this immediate vicinity? Roger. Yeah, let's take another. Let's pan up and right. And actually seeing them from this seafloor vantage point is really good. It gives us an idea of relief.
This thing totally stopped.
I think we're seeing salt volcanoes. And they may just be...
That really, I saw some really fast bubble release off there, but it seems intermittent.
And they would be actively dissolving before our eyes, but they're being replenished fast enough so that they're not disappearing. They're under, obviously they're dissolving, but...
Yep. I wonder what that big solid white structure is in the background there.
Well, I think it's another one of those features. Just, I think it's salt.
Yeah, it's really tall.
We saw a bubble coming out of this one before.
Yeah, lots of them.
Yeah, and just a second ago, there was bursts of bubbles coming from the one on the lower right of the screen.
And some bursts of bubbles in the upper right of the screen, too, a farther one.
Those bursts correlated pretty well with repositioning the ROV, so I think we sent a gentle pressure wave.
It's a mini volcano, very photogenic. And those brown structures that Aaron identified, the small spires around it are interesting too. I don't know whether those are chemical precipitates or what, but
yeah, they're curious. Just the way that they're situated. Is that a little fish back there?
Yeah, there you go. There's a bubble coming out. And brine. I agree with you. I think it's brine too. In fact, I think the structure is salt. I think that salt or salt mixed with perhaps something. It's something that's getting the whole structure to hold together. And it's coating it. And is that Vegeto? Do you think it's bacteria actually coating it?
I don't know. It doesn't look obviously filamentous like bacteria, so I can't really say.
Gentlemen, what I want you to do now is zoom wide, and let's take a look at another one of those structures, the bigger one that Aaron pointed out behind and to the right. We may not have to move. Right.
Yeah. Just curious to look at it quickly, see what's going on over there.
Yeah, if we can come, yeah, you know, see the one I'm looking at.
Oh, what an interesting landscape.
Well, it's wonderful. It's like nothing I've ever seen. It's great. It does. It's got. They look like fumaroles. They look like. Well, they are. I mean, in Yellowstone, they're seeps too, but they're hot seeps. Yep, sure.
So, the hot springs at Yellowstone, would they be more like hydrothermal vents, just on land?
Yes, that's what they are. It's hot water. It's hot water fueled, heavily silica supersaturated water. So that's where you get these center constructions, siliceous constructions associated with these seeps. Very hot water.
With those pogonopherans, Aaron, living on the left side. Ooh,
Oh, you can see both volcanoes erupting gas now. The one in the foreground and the one in the.
Sure. My impression at first was that they were hydroids, but I'd have to see if they're branching or not.
Okay.
I didn't get a good enough look.
Yeah.
Are we going to move, guys, to look at that far one, or? Okay. Roger that. I knew you guys left to your own devices would find me some interesting seafloor today.
I don't know, yeah. Right, we think it's a water column polychaete of some kind, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, what makes me think that we're looking at least in part at brine are the drainage channels coming down that volcano in the foreground. That's super saturated seawater that's coming down and just cascading down the front of that volcano. It's got some chemicals in it, or it's scavenging the chemicals that are orange around the base of that volcano, like little lava flows. Only it's super saturated seawater.
I mean, let's say the orange is something chemical and not biological. What would it have to be? Iron?
You've got me. I could.
Look at that little pool thing there.
It could be another. It could be another mini brine. It could be a. We're going to want to zoom in on it though. Could be another mini brine pool. These things are erupting brine.
Wow. And you can see the shimmering there. I don't know if that's because there's a pool of brine in there that it's moving through.
Yeah, it could be.
Or just trailing brine like it was before.
Fantastic. Never seen anything like that. Seen things like that on land, but I haven't seen anything like that on the.
Get out of here, fish.
This is just so. Isn't it? It's amazing.
Really cool. Whenever it works for you, I'd like to zoom in on those little creatures sticking off of the top of that white thing on the left.
Yeah, and I'm going to want to, before we do that, I'm going to want to zoom in on that collapse-looking feature in the foreground, and then we can do what. I want to see if there's more brine in this. Yeah, right where the lasers are. I want to get a zoom there. Yep, that'd be great if you can, because I'd like to be above it a little bit looking down at it. Boy, that one's a puzzler. But there's brine in it. But see, that's brine. See how it ripples?
Pretty clearly.
Yeah, it's brine. It's a mini brine pool. And just looking at a lot of features related to the escape of dissolving salt from the core of this feature below us. Fantastic. Anytime you want to pan up and look at her biology.
A little sticks there.
Her biology. Well, it looks like a fossil example of the volcanoes we're seeing nearby. And what are they? Are they alive? Are they dead? Are they small?
I can't see them. They're up at the top.
Up and pan right just a little. It's that. Oh, there's another. There's more gas leaking out.
Look like it's worms. What are these things called? Sibellid worms, I think. Thanks. That's good. That's good.
That's great,
Or
gentlemen.
serpulids?
Serpulids? I was going to say.
I'm not sure, because sibellids are like feather duster. Yeah, not sure. No, I'm good.
I think we're good to go,
I think we got
gentlemen.
a good view. I'm just not sure what they are.
Yeah, it really is really fantastically photogenic spot. But that's all related to escape of brine from below us. That big pool we traversed in these as well. And there's hydrocarbons in this too, but mostly about salt release, salt dissolution. And you can see things like this in the Middle East on land above salt pans called sapkas. You can actually, and there it's caused by heated brines at the base of these deposits, and they erupt at the surface. But you can see them on land as well. Beauty shots are good. With hake, complete with hake for scale.
Yeah. They've been fairly cooperative, the hakes. They haven't come in here and really, stirred up the sediment as they can sometimes.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
There's a little bit of oil coming out of that little brine pool right there.
Yeah, I think so. It wouldn't surprise me at all. Yeah, let us.
It's so interesting.
Go ahead.
Most of the brine pools that we've seen are really cloudy, white, murky, but that one was perfectly
very, very clear. Yeah. Excellent work, gentlemen. Let us move. Festina lente. Let us proceed with haste slowly to waypoint 2. I was going to say it's worth waiting for a place like that. That was great. Yeah, miles of mud before I sleep. Very, very interesting place. Very nice work, you guys. Excellent stuff. Kind of makes up for the crushing that snail. It's too easy. I mean, come on, if you put yourself up there in a bright light with a target painted on me saying "shoot me," there's not much I can do. I grew up in New York. I mean, come on. The playgrounds were hard. The playgrounds were hard work. Yeah, that's right. No, that's okay. We'll just keep going. Big snails, and it's interesting because they must have a tolerance for this environment that a lot of the other biology does not, because we didn't see them elsewhere. Well, again, I mean, we're still in the same area of collapse related to salt. Yeah, there you go. See, this could be collapse, some kind of a collapse feature here. Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me if that isn't collapse. You know, where salt is dissolving and coming up as brine, it's also collapsing in other places. So that's what that could be. Fantastic terrain. Oh, wonderful. Yeah, it's a bigger version of what we just saw. And Bill Shedd was saying that the Orca Basin, which is a famous brine pool, is 6 meters deep. They actually went down and looked at it with Alvin and then couldn't get Alvin into it because it was so dense. Oh, well, I've spent some time in Israel the last couple of years because Nautilus has been there, and we've been to the Dead Sea. And that's 1/3 salt. You can actually lie on your back and read a newspaper without actually getting the newspaper wet. It's fantastic. It's fantastic. Very nice, extensive. I think what we'll do when we get to waypoint 2, assuming we don't stop again, is that then we'll slow down to point 2. We're at point 3 now, yes? Yeah, we'll slow to point 2 at waypoint 2, and then we'll move west or east to waypoint 3 at 0.2 knots. Roger that. Certainly doesn't appear to be much in the way of topography here. Pretty featureless seafloor, some burrowing. Not much in the way of sonar targets. So we'll spend a few more minutes here, do another couple of transects out and in. We've defined a circle here. We'll take a quick look across the quadrants of that circle, and then we'll move on. With these little golf balls. If you got time, take a zoom. They look like carapaces of some kind, but they could be something else. We'll take a look. There are 2 of them. Looks like they look a little different. One's got spots on it. And the far one got spots, and the other one doesn't. Yeah, what do you think here, resident biologist? Urchin of some kind?
Maybe. Well, yeah, it could be an urchin test, so, you know, one that's died and doesn't have spines anymore.
It looked like it moved, but that may have been us moving it. Why don't we move to the other one? Why don't we scan back to the other one? There's another one back there, too.
Does? What? So somebody says that it definitely moved.
Actually, it looks like a mushroom to me.
I don't know. I think it does look like an urchin, but I am not convinced that it's alive because other stuff is growing out of it.
Oh, it could be something. It could
Perhaps
be something
we saw
living
moving
inside,
something else.
inside the urchin
Or
test.
under it. I see that stuff underneath it, kind of like sediment falling away.
Yeah, I agree that that's
but
not
I think
alive.
there's something else under there.
I think it's being inhabited by other things. But
Yeah.
let's zoom out and take a look at that other one if we have time. With your talent for crushing things, you. See, there you go. That's what Jeff does. He just goes up there with that skid and just. I'll see what's inside that.
Be pretty easy to crush. Those are really thin shells that they have.
There you go. There's another one. Something, I don't know if it's the same animal or same. There's a hake just sitting there watching you do. It's incredible. Incredible. See, I think it's another urchin shell, urchin test of some kind.
What is that on top of it? Hermit crab? Some kind of little crustacean.
Yeah, I think it's they're opportunistic habitat grabbers.
It looks like a little hermit crab.
Yeah.
Cute. Some names.
Okay, video, when you're ready, we can zoom back out and move on.
Coming up on a little bit of, or a fair amount actually, of staining here. There's some of that orange Beggiatoa bacterial mat there. And some anemones on some small carbonate rocks. And some corals in front of us. I think that's some more bamboo coral there. Carbonate hard ground. Oh, crab on that one. Some vestimentiferan tube worms here on this carbonate hard ground also. Really cool. So maybe we should no other actual targets around here. This right here, we're looking at it. Most interesting thing around. Well, if you don't see anything compelling here, could move on. I don't see anything really. There's a big fat sea star right there. Another bamboo coral. The hake under it. It's an interesting color. Yeah, it looks green. Weird. Could you zoom in on this any further? Oh, it is fuzzy. I would say bacterial filaments. I've never seen ones this color before. Usually you get the white kind and the orange kind. Yeah, as long as we could just get a good zoom. That looks really good there. It is a nice shot. Well, I think that's a good enough shot, hopefully. I saw some white bacteria, some white filaments mixed in there too. Like, what was that thing? I saw one of those the other day. I can't remember. Oh, a chimera, I think. They remind me of sturgeons a little bit because they have that kind of nose. Yeah.
Now, we saw those all over the med, those little red, what were they calling them in the med? Scorpion fish or squirrel fish? Not scorpion fish, that's not right. Squirrel fish or something. But they were, generally lived in depressions in the seafloor. And they were everywhere.
A little more staining. Another flounder?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, there you go. I don't call that a flounder, I call that dinner. Yeah. That's a good 40 centimeters long. That one's a good sized one right there. They're coming back right around my house on Martha's Vineyard. You can get them right off the beach again now. For years they weren't there. Now they're coming back.
Oh, weird fish.
They are.
Because they're...
The eyeballs in particular are
right,
a little strange. A little strange.
Because their body axis is
right.
This way, but then both their eyeballs are on one side of their head.
Well,
yeah.
it's,
makes sense.
It makes sense given the fact that you're living your life flat on the seafloor. You don't want to be able to look up and out, but...
If I was going to lie on one side most of the time, I'd want both my eyes to be on the other side, too.
It's a lot of fun here in the van and Okeanos Explorer, particularly in the last hour of a dive. People get a little punchy.
I'm still impressed by these big holes.
I am too. Fantastic. There we go.
Yep,
and that's probably a hard ground. Probably very near hard outcrop down in the base of that guy. Yeah, I think so too. A lot of staining. Got a distance of about 239 meters to waypoint 3 now. We're moving ahead at 0.2 knots. This is dive 8 of the Okeanos Explorer Expedition Leg 3 to the northern Gulf of Mexico. It's another one of those big, big burrows. And we've been looking today for seeps. We have found several. We found a wonderful brine pool area with both large and small brine pools and what looked to be small volcanoes of brine mixed with perhaps gas and oil. Been some fascinating parts of this dive. We're in the last hour of the dive now. We'll be on the seafloor for approximately another hour. This is the Okeanos Explorer.
See that guy? He just came out of that hole.
What just came out of there? Oh, Hake.
It certainly looks like one.
Skate.
Seen a few of those.
Yeah. Yeah, earlier was the first time I saw an actual ray in deep water. I mean, we're not very deep, but skates are more typical in deeper water. Skate skin.
It is amazing how they camouflage in, though. It's wonderful. We've seen them buried, and all you see is their eyes coming up out of the sediment. They're just completely under the sediment. Let's keep going, guys.
Very good.
Yeah, I think here we're, again, looking at texture that's related to actual removal of material from underneath. So, you're probably just looking at a series of, some of it's burrows. I mean, that structure in front of you is burrows, but some of these depressions here, it's probably related to withdrawal of salt from underneath the seafloor at some level. And then you've got burrows too, but that's what the overall texture looks like to me.
Another skate there. Or is that... Actually not sure. Is that another ray? It's a different shape. I think that one is a ray, actually. It's got a pointy face, a pointy snout.
What's the difference between a ray and a skate?
Oh, fine thing. She just let the cat out of the bag.
It has something to do with the shape of their wings, because the skates have kind of two lobes on their wings, and then they also have kind of a shorter, fatter tail, or it has some spines on it. Okay. One moment. I guess I didn't respond to you. I said, let me look it up on the internet again, like I did the other day when I was trying to figure this out. So yeah, skates, they have their pelvic fins, so their wings basically they have two lobes, and they're relatively stocky, and they have a short, kind of like a fatter tail, and it's got little thorn-like scales on them. And the rays just have kind of, it's the shape of their wings are different. They only have one lobe, and then they tend to have a skinnier tail.
Yeah, again, I think, guys, this is another one of these salt withdrawal features. Looks like we got a nice, what do we got, a sea star in the middle of it? What's that guy? Is that a tube worm?
Crab?
Crab?
Used to be a crab.
The old
Yeah, just do a quick
The
zip,
old
please.
used to be a crab. I don't know.
I think it's used to be a crab.
It's organic debris.
Or maybe it's still a crab. I don't know.
That looks anemone. Well, no, I think it's a crab carcass with anemones on it.
Could be. Sometimes
it's got
we've
anemones
seen
on it.
Living.
Oh, maybe it's a living crab with hampered by anemones. Interesting.
I think it might be a living crab. And not all, it might not be. Yep, it moved.
Amazing.
Hampered by anemones per se.
Hampered by anemones or enhanced by anemones.
Fantastic. We've seen these crabs with anemone crawling around with anemones on their back, although this is a different kind of crab. Usually those sorts are the hermit crab types, but instead of having a shell, got an anemone on their back. One can imagine that would be maybe good protection from someone having stinging cells
crab
on there.
Roquina with epizoa, and I just said crab encrusted by anemones. That's the difference between Bob Carney and me. That's good, Bob. Thanks. Okay, we have about 118 meters left to waypoint 3. We will then stop the ship and do a little look around waypoint 3. Waypoint 3, again, is purported to be a bit of a topographic irregularity. We didn't see much topography at waypoint 2, but we will definitely take another look at waypoint 3. That may just about do it. Those of you at Stennis, we'll take a look around, but we're going to be short of time. Yeah, that's an interesting looking target there. Looks like almost Fisher-like on the radar. Yeah, maybe it's a piece of man-made debris. It might just be looks a little bit like the pipeline we saw the other day. It's a furrow. It's a furrow of some kind.
Does look rather linear.
It's a furrow. It's a furrow. So, and it might have some incrustation on it. So.
Weird. Well, certainly some carbonates with anemones on them.
Yeah, let's take a zoom in. Yeah, all right, we've got bubbles on the left foreground. Let's do a ship stop here. Yep.
That's some bamboo corals. I think they're living. It's hard to tell, but.
We get those lasers back on?
And may we have the lasers, gentlemen, when you have a chance, please. Lasers are on.
So there was a report that there was very high activity on the EK60 in this area.
Yeah, well, there's certainly a pretty steady stream of bubbles here to the left, so we get reoriented and take a look at that. A lot of staining here, some hard grounds, anemones. Get the whole ball of wax. Not as much in the way of bivalves today associated with this as we have in the past. Maybe it's the proximity of salt in the subsurface. Maybe that's affecting the biologist. Bivalves. I've lost those bubbles now. Where are they? It's funny. I thought they were further to the left. My recollection was they were left. But we know that it's hard to see them until you get into a certain range. Extensive staining here. Not a lot of biology on the seafloor, though, other than the staining. That was us doing that. Once we get a location for these bubbles, I'm going to want to drop a virtual target here. But let's find them. Well, if you want to zoom in there and pan left and right, we can. I sometimes have a hard time seeing these from a distance anyway.
Yeah, I'm interested in what those little white things are anyway. They look like shells of some kind.
Are we talking about the lower right, or are you talking about dead ahead?
No, dead ahead.
Okay, yeah, so Aaron would like a zoom just to the left of that orange patch anyway. Take a look at what's there, the shells where the lasers are.
Oh, there's the bubbles. Where was that?
There you go.
It's just
Yeah, I tell you. Now we can drop a target whenever you. This will be D085. Yeah, it's a little further up. There you go. I thought they were coming from there, but
look at all those little holes. Oh yeah, there are tubes.
Yeah, I think they're tubes, but the question is, what are they? What are the tubes? We've seen these elsewhere. Oh, we certainly saw them in Israel. Are they polychaetes? I mean, are they worm tubes of some kind?
I think so, but I can't be sure. I mean, I've seen polychaete tubes that look like that, but I'm always surprised that many organisms make tubes.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I'll be blanked. I could have sworn we saw bubbles there, and now I'm not seeing any at all.
Well, it happens like this here, it seems like.
Nope, it's true.
There they are. So is that some bubbles every 2 minutes?
Yeah, I guess. Certainly there are some that are more or less continuous, but that's certainly not true of all of them. Yeah, I'd like to, if it doesn't eat up all our time. I want to get to waypoint 3 before the end of the dive. All right. Got about 100 meters to go to waypoint 3. I would at least like to get there and take a look around before we have to call it a day. And we have hard grounds above us to the left we ought to take a look at before we leave.
I'm curious about this little blob here.
Is that a technical term? A blob?
I just can't tell what it is. Just a weird texture and shape when you look at it.
Blob-like. It's a dinosaur egg.
Oh. Too much texture to be a dinosaur egg, I think.
Yeah, it's an encrusted dinosaur egg. Well, we're going to wait for a little while. If we will wait, we will wait a few minutes, but we're not going to wait too long because I want to look at the hard grounds up and to the left, and I want to take a scan on the biology here, and we will then move on because I want to. We've got about 30 minutes left in the dive, and I want to get over to waypoint 3. So. A watched bubble never bubbles. Watched seep never bubbles. That's it. That was what I was after. I just always have this distinct feeling that right off frame there is this absurdly large stream that's completely eluding us. Yeah, I want to take a look at that before we go. That's pretty linear. It's either a fracture or a hard ground. Yeah, I'm ready to go, guys. Let's come wide.
Can I look at that little blob?
Yeah, look, give her a blob. Give her a blob look before we leave. As soon as we leave, we'll see the bubbles come up. Of course.
Weird.
It's yeah. It's encrusted with something. Barnacles? Gooseneck barnacles. That's what they look like to me. But they may be
Barnacles?
small bivalves.
Yeah, it looks like a big bivalve.
Right.
Encrusted with little ones. Maybe its own little babies, perhaps. Pretty cool.
Yeah, with the base of it looks like a clam.
Yeah.
A bivalve of some sort. Over on the left-hand side, you can see the striations.
Yeah, no,
Yep.
we concur.
I'm with ya.
We concur. It seems encrusted with small ones.
Can you get a good zoom on that other thing that's up in your frame? So if you come wide again and see straight up from there, there's a kind of pinkish looking thing there. Just curious about what that is too.
It's a shell of some kind. Crab shell, carapace, crab carapace.
Yeah, I
with
agree.
snail on it.
Yep. Little amphipod over to the left. I'm not really sure.
Okay, guys.
Okay, that's good.
Let's come wide. I want to take a look at that feature in front of us on Little Herc sonar. Looks like it's almost crossing our path here. Well, I want to look at the outcrop, but I want to look at the feed. There's a linear depression in front of you that I want to. Right, and you can see it on your right as you. You've got corals there.
Yeah, right here. Yeah.
I don't know. It's an interesting looking animal there. It looks like a river of stain. Clearly hard grounds.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool landscape right here.
The ones down here. Well, actually, look, these two look like they're burrowing into.
It certainly looks like it, doesn't it?
Kind of dirty, but.
Very dark there. I wonder if that's like a little brine crevice there.
I wonder if it's a brine river. You know, it could be feeding a brine pool out of the stream. That's why it's so reflective.
Yeah, it's very likely to be running along a fault.
Yeah, it could be, but it could just be a brine river, and I think that's a brine pool off to the left.
But it looked like the banks of that river were rocks, seemed like.
And we got more, and we got bubbles here.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's brine.
That was just a burp of bubbles. They stopped now.
Yeah, I think it was another one of these, burp of bubbles that is not continuous.
Fantastic. I think that's exactly what it is. I think it's brine. I think it's brine in that drainage area there. I think if we got close to that and disturbed it, we'd see ripples in it.
Off to the right. Oh, the dark.
And I think in the background you're seeing more brine.
I wonder if those brown things in the back are more of those like clams. Like the clam that had baby clams on it.
Yeah, it could be. Although if it's proximal to the brine, my guess not. My guess is not.
I think it's rocks or something.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Well, I'd like to come back along the trend of this thing. We went left. I'd like to go right and look at it in the other direction. Kind of get a longitudinal look at it here. Yeah, come back along. See the track in the mid-range background there? I want to come up along this. I mean, it's certainly a depression in the seafloor. I don't know if it's structural or not, but it's a low, and I think that low has got brine running in it. Fantastic. It's a brine river. That's the river equivalent of the small brine pool we saw earlier. So you're actually seeing a big version of this with brine flowing through it rather than just being in a pool. Fantastic. And is that bamboo coral?
Yep.
You're not going to see a stranger set of formations on the seafloor than you're looking at right now, gentlemen. This doesn't happen very many places. This is exploration. You don't see this very often. There are other places in the Gulf where I've heard that this exists, but I've never seen video of it. And see, it's leaking out of the seafloor here. It's coming out, probably being fed, and then it's denser than the seawater, so it's flowing downhill. Fantastic. Well, that's good. Let's see. Anything else you wanted to see on the beach, gentlemen? From the beach.
I think we're good.
Yeah, let's keep moving our way over. As much as I'd like to actually stay here for a while, let's keep moving over towards waypoint 3. Absolutely. Point 2. Point 2 is fine. Yeah, that's good. We'll still give us a few minutes to do some work around waypoint 3. That's fine.
This is Cody Kramer. We came across a great brine feature last year, or 2 years ago, I guess, during the Lophelia 2 2010 cruise at Green Canyon 246. If you go to the Ron Brown ship log for Green Canyon 246, which I think the date was October 19th, you can see great pictures of this brine feature we saw. It was completely barren of all life, and it looked like a Yellowstone feature.
Right, exactly. With it,
it's really, really great.
You know, I know things like this exist in the Gulf, but I've never seen one, and it's also pretty photogenic with these anemone and bamboo coral and so on. It's wonderful. Pretty great stuff. And they're your hydroids. They're your
octocorals.
Octocoral, sorry.
Although octocoral is a general term for a lot of the corals that we're seeing here, I can't remember what the more specific name for those ones is.
Look like puffballs to me. Fantastic. Fantastic, gentlemen. We've seen some wonderful seafloor today.
It looks like a different kind of coral.
No, we can certainly move on, but very well done.
There's another one of those big snail shells.
Yeah, I think it's a fantastic. Makes you glad you're a geologist. And that brine river is going somewhere. If we wanted to follow it downstream, we'd end up in another brine pool. So that's and it's probably being fed along the way. Those circular depressions in it are places where brine is actually coming up and feeding the stream.
Oh, right. Anthomastus is the name of those feathery octocorals, like the one that we're looking at right now.
Yeah,
actually.
really, really interesting. Beautiful. Well, it looks like a river system from the air, doesn't it? I mean, it's just hard to imagine that you're underwater at 1,000 feet, looking down at water meeting water, and yet you've still got a river feature. Wonderful.
Look like another urchin test there over to the side. Urchin shell.
Yeah, it may just begin to mix enough with seawater so that it begins to disappear as a brine. Getting enough mixing here so that it's gone. It's great. Very well done. Nice. Got about 20 minutes left in the dive. There's another cat shark. If the brine flows out somewhere, salt's got to be removed somewhere else and starts to collapse on itself.
Yep, looks like bacteria there. The white stuff.
Yep. Yep.
You know, I'm not sure what this mass in the foreground is, though. It kind of looks like one of those, I don't even want to guess, like one of those octocorals, but more gray and less white. Maybe it's dead. Maybe it was living on there before the whole thing collapsed.
That's good, gentlemen. Let us move on. Oh, here we go. Wow, look at this. A forest of anemones, a fistful of dollars and a forest of anemones.
And some sponges.
And that's an outcrop right below them there.
Can you zoom in on those sponges really quickly, if we have a moment?
Very nice. Boy, those anemones, boy, I cannot say that word. Those anemones are everywhere, aren't they?
I'm going to find out what they are, darn it. Seasoned sponges are interesting. They are like stalked sponges, living on those little sticks.
Now, those would be glass sponges, yes?
I believe so, which would make them hexoctinellid, but I don't quote me too. Oh yeah, and then back behind them there's some little serpulid worms. Looks like the little feather duster worms. And some more of those anthomastus. That little octocoral I'm always talking about. That's great, thank you. We can move on.
Beautiful assemblage there.
Yeah.
That's one of the biggest assemblages of, and that's what Shirley wanted to see, right? Some video of sponges.
Right, and I think probably that shot. Oh, this is the best.
That was one of the
we
best
can possibly get. I think.
I was going to say that's one of the best exposures of sponges we've seen all day.
And we've seen those kind of sponges all over that shipwreck too. We just never really zoomed in on them specifically.
Right. See, he can say that. Must be young. Has a younger tongue. Anemone. See, I think that pretty much means proximity to an underlying hard ground. I think they like that hard substrate, right?
Yeah.
So that's a pretty good indication we've got hard ground pretty close to the surface.
Right. I mean, these guys seem to be on any little bit of hard ground, and even those ones that look like they're sticking up out of the sediment, I think they probably settled on that hard ground and then got sedimented later. Make burrows like that in the seafloor for ambush tactics and hiding from predators.
Well, sure. Now, see, we've also got this is a very interesting topography in the seafloor, though. Again, we've got channels on the seafloor, and suggest that there may be, again, there may have been some evidence for fluid flow here. There we go, another hard ground.
Saw one of those roughy type fish. I think it's similar to the ones that we saw at the other.
Could be.
Clam hash area.
Yeah, see, they're real channels in this seafloor.
Yeah.
See those bubbles there?